You're en route to qualify aboard a carrier on your way to becoming a naval aviator. The traffic patterns around a carrier are congested but well organized. This film will demonstrate procedures and techniques for making an arrested landing and being launched from a carrier in the T-28. Upon arrival at the carrier, you will usually be directed to the Delta 1 holding pattern. The Delta 1 is a left-hand racetrack pattern with the center oriented 1 mile aft of the ship. The pattern altitude is 1,000 feet. While in the pattern, concentrate on flying formation. When the ship is ready, your flight leader will be given the Charlie signal. Your flight will commence a letdown. The 2nd Division will level off at 525 feet. The 1st Division will continue descending to 325 feet. Just aft of the ship, the 2nd Division will commence a left-hand 360-degree delaying turn using a 30-degree angle of bank. The 1st Division continues straight ahead, passing close aboard the starboard side of the ship, parallel to the ship's magnetic course. This magnetic course on which the ship will recover aircraft is called Foxtrot Korpen. The 1st Division leader continues past the bow of the ship for 15 to 30 seconds, then brakes, rolling smoothly into a 45-degree angle of bank. Reduce power to 15 inches and open the cowl flaps. The remaining aircraft brake at 10-second intervals. Slowing through 140 knots, lower the gear, place prop to full increase, and lower the flaps. When at 100 knots, readjust power to stabilize at 90 knots and 325 feet. The 2nd Division will let down to 325 feet during the last 90 degrees of their delaying turn, then proceed upwind. The 2nd Division leader brakes when the last aircraft of the 1st Division is 20 degrees aft of his wing. Other aircraft brake at the 10-second interval. On the downwind leg, open the speed brake, make a level transition to 82 knots, and maintain 325 feet. Since the first approach is a recognition pass, keep the hook up and the canopy closed. Establish your heading downwind to maintain a 1,000 to 1,200 yard distance abeam of the carrier. This distance is indicated by a slight amount of water between the wingtip and the waterline of the carrier. Complete the landing checklist downwind. Canopy will be closed and hook up. Report gear down and checklist complete prior to the 180. At the 180, normally abeam of the LSO platform, start a level turn using 18 to 22 degrees of bank. If the wind is unusually strong, the LSO will tell you where to turn. Approaching the 90, you may feel that you're too close to the ship. Maintain 82 knots and 325 feet. Upon sighting the meatball at about the 70-degree position, reduce power slightly to start down the glide slope. Call your side number and the meatball. Due to the wind over the deck, at the carrier, more power may be required to remain on the glide slope than during FCLP. Maintain a good scan, meatball, line up, and airspeed. Overshoot the wake slightly and roll out aligned with the angled deck. Continue your scan. In close, meatball and lineup. Upon wave-off signal, wave off straight ahead up the angled deck. Abeam of the bow, establish a heading parallel to the ship's course. Proceed upwind until the aircraft ahead passes through the proper angle aft of your wing. This is the time to establish proper interval, not later in the pattern. Start your turn downwind. Vary your angle of bank if necessary to establish your downwind leg 1,000 to 1,200 yards abeam. If you find yourself too wide, continue the turn and establish the proper abeam distance. This is called a pork chop turn. For touch and goes, the pattern remains the same. Hold 325 feet actual altitude and transition to 82 knots. Again, downwind, complete the landing checklist. Leave the hook up. With proper interval, when you're at the 180, the aircraft ahead should be approaching the ramp. Now start your turn. Maintain altitude until sighting the meatball. Reduce power slightly and adjust it as necessary to stay on the glide slope. Disregard any impression of being too high. Continue to hold a centered meatball. In close, don't reduce power or dive for the deck. Upon the cut signal, close the throttle. Maintain the 82 knot attitude. At touchdown, lower the nose wheel, add full power, and raise the speed brake. Assume the takeoff attitude as you approach the end of the deck. As you pass abeam of the bow, turn to parallel the ship's course. Now let's see an arrested landing. As before, be sure to take your interval here, upwind. Complete the checklist downwind. This time, lower the tailhook. Always turn at the proper 180. When established on the glide slope, call your side number and meatball. Keep the meatball centered. Don't dive for the deck. Your line of vision is well above the tailhook, which will engage one of the wires. Again, on the cut, maintain the 82 knot attitude. During the rollout, stay off the brakes. Now the taxi director will pick you up and may have you throttle back. A rollback will move you aft. He will signal for hook up, releasing you from the arresting cable. On the signal, close the speed brake. The taxi director taxis you into the takeoff position. When in position, he transfers control of you to the launch officer. He will pick you up with a hold brake signal and give you the turn-up signal. When you're ready to go and turn-up meets your approval, signify readiness to the launch officer. He will check for a clear deck and launch you. Release brakes and advance the throttle to 48 inches. Maintain directional control with the rudder. Approaching the bow, raise the nose to the takeoff attitude. Maintain this attitude to prevent settling. Transition to the 90-knot climb attitude and parallel the ship's course. A wave-off may be necessary for many reasons. If you receive one in close, wave off straight up the angled deck and establish a positive rate of climb. On a wave-off before reaching in close, wave off up the port side, clear of the ship. If you overshoot the groove and receive a wave-off, continue up the starboard side. Look out for the rescue helicopter. A bolter is a hook-down touch-and-go. If you do not engage a wire, add full power and take off as you would on a touch-and-go. Following your final arrestment, you will be directed to the Delta II pattern. After takeoff, turn right 45 degrees from the ship's course and raise the gear. Climb to 250 feet. At this altitude, with 100 knots, raise the flaps. Close the canopy and set power to the climb setting. When clear of the pattern, climb to a left orbit 1 mile ahead of the ship at 2,000 feet or below the clouds. Join on your flight leader in right echelon in the order in which you arrive. Once joined up, you will return to the beach. Carrier landings separate a naval aviator from all other flyers. To qualify aboard a carrier, you must develop a professional attitude. Learn the procedures and know your aircraft. Qualifying aboard the carrier is one more step toward your goal of being designated a naval aviator.